Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Matthew and today we're doing another figure review. Today we're doing another figure review, a figure review on the Bootleg NECA Shin Godzilla. Now, automatically, I can already hear people asking, why did I buy the bootleg instead of the original figure? Well, to summarize, I've been trying to get the original for years now, even before NECA lost the license. And honestly, it doesn't help that they lost the license eventually, and it just became super difficult to find one for resale that was actually worth the purchase. And eventually I just said screw it and just bought the bootleg instead after seeing some in-hand pictures of the bootleg and actually it being somewhat good quality. Somewhat. Not the best quality, but somewhat good quality. Because I don't want a Shin Godzilla that's just gonna be another Bandai vinyl. They're gonna cut the articulation here, 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 and here. And pretty much like speaking, it's almost one-to-one as far as the articulation goes. But let's go ahead and take a look at the Shin Godzilla that I have anyway. Starting off with the sculpt and paint, it's actually pretty good. Like, I'm shocked at how good it looks overall. Starting off, we have the molding on the head, which actually looks really good. The eye paint is really well done, especially for a bootleg, and the teeth are actually really well painted. I'm again shocked. I thought this was going to be like one of the most sloppiest thing known to mankind, but surprisingly, it's not. Taking a look at the mouth, actually, you can kind of see the membrane. It's very thick and very red, and especially like it's just very meaty. Of course, there's not much of a paint transition from the black to the red, but it does look really well done, especially because you got the wash there. Also, the spines on the back here, they're also decently well painted. Got like the black kind of tips and then the orange red base. And then you kind of have like the black and kind of like the red wash where it would be primarily glowing on the chest. Because here in the movie, this like rib part of it really glows in the movie. So it almost looks like it's about to glow in some instances, even though I think that's just more of a paint oversight, the fact that there's not too much paint there, but honestly it looks really well good. And of course the eyes are still rolling back to the eyes. They're still standardly painted off to the side, like Shin Godzilla really was. Moving on down to the chest, this is my favorite part of the figure as far as like sculpt and paint wise, because even if this is a bootleg, they nailed it. They really nailed how it looked in the movie because it was black and had red in the crevices and kind of made it for a very even but uneven look, if that makes any sort of logical sense. Because you can actually see all the individual like little crevices and details folding out in there because you kind of like got this one where kind of like waves out and then you got this one this where it looks very skeletal and it looks very nasty and it honestly again looks really good and I'm again shocked at how well it looks. The hands, I will say, are a bit on the more simple side, but still have some really good like red painting, and the sculpting is really well done on this thing. And again, like so much of it is so well done, especially with the red mixed in there. And before I forget to talk about the mouth, the gum paint is a bit iffy. On one hand, you have like a pinkish magenta kind of color, while the red membranes are still plainly noticeable, but the black in there kind of looks good. When we take a look at the legs here, they're actually still carrying over the same sort of sculpt and detail that you find on the rest of the body, featuring a black base with red wash throughout it. And while it's not as clean looking as the body itself is, it still looks rather nice. And honestly, it almost looks blue in some areas. Very eerie and very similar to that of the NECA 94 Godzilla from years back. Ooh, the nostalgia. But something I also want to point out is actually the claw paint, which on my copy of the bootleg Shin Godzilla, it's actually, you can't really see it well on camera. Maybe if I like dull down the brightness. There you go. It's actually done decently well. I got a bit of nicks on mine, but it's no biggie. And I also love how it's like really encaved in all the crevices and paint. And funny enough, mine actually, hold on, I'm just going to show on this side. Mine actually doesn't have the copyright info on it, which I find interesting because my other bootleg Godzilla that I just got yesterday does. or forgive me, 2 days ago. Wow, time flies by fast already. And the last part, well, not the last part, second last part, we're going to take a look at the tail, which I honestly got to say, in all honesty, this is the best Shin Godzilla tail I think I've ever seen. And I know that sounds weird, but let me explain. The the position of the tail is very neutralized, like the movie was. Kind of how it goes down, goes back up, kind of swerves back down, then goes up right again. That is honestly a really cool pose, and I like how they implemented it into the actual NECA Godzilla figure. I will say that there's a bit of a light wash of red when it comes to the red paint apps, and it's kind of like, it's a bit uneven because there's barely any sort of like actual paint. On this side, it's actually kind of got some more red paint, which I do think could have been utilized a little bit better. And unlike the original one, well, the original Shin Godzilla and the Atomic Blast version, which I actually do have, that's not a bootleg, this one actually keeps its tail up, which I do like. But I also got to address the little Cheeto chunks. I think that's their attempt at bone. But then again, what's all this? Also, that is hard. Also, something I'd also like to point out that's actually kind of funny is I think they took the body of the original Shin Godzilla NECA figure and put the tail of the Atomic Blast figure on there and called it a day. Why? There's a hole right at the tip. I don't think the original one had it, and if it did, well, I mean, it wouldn't make sense because that wasn't engineered for the Atomic Blast version. But what's funny about that is, it's spoilers about the accessories in comparison, but that means this guy would be actually compatible with the tail beam. But next we're going to talk about the dorsal plates. The dorsal plates are the most meh part about it. It's because the red base is actually really well done, but I think they actually kind of hammered it in a little too much. While the tips of the plates are a bit more black. I don't know why I'm trying to struggle to say the word black, but also has a bit of like reds on the outlines, and it's very faded as far as like the detail goes, while everything else actually has some form of great detail. So why they didn't like do the detail work that's like more found on this one or on the body versus the spines is beyond me. But it still looks actually kind of good, and you can kind of see like a bit of almost pink, almost like what they use in the mouth. So it's almost like they wanted to use some sort of pink there, but decide not to because, well, it's not the Atomic Blast variant. And it honestly does look good, to at least some extent. The fins look really well done. I like how kind of flexible and meaty they do look. And honestly, I've got nothing but kind of high praise for the fins. They do look a little meh as far as like the size. I think they're a bit on the smaller side as far as like the actual figure is. But on its own, it's actually really, really, really well done. So overall, for sculpt and paint, it's not bad, honestly. I was really shocked at how good it was because when I saw some other, like, people's pictures of this thing, it was red. Like, it was not like this, it was red beyond belief. So I made sure to pick the right one from Ali, and I'm really well happy with how the paint and sculpt turned out. I definitely think it could have used a tiny, teensy bit more red, like not overly red how some other copies are of the bootleg Shin Godzilla, because there are multiple bootleg Shin Godzillas from various different sellers and bootleggers online. But for the one I got, I'm very surprised as to how it turned out, and I'm honestly really happy with how this thing is. But really on its own, only a few bit of issues, but nothing that maybe like the best customizer in the world can do.